Chris here, aka Craig. Common question, again, it pays up on the forums. Most of the good questions get put on the MT10 Dark Side forum on Facebook. Get yourself over there if you're not already. If you do go over there, just answer the questions, get accepted. We're quite tight who we let in and who we don't, so you don't end up with Thai boys dancing on a live video stream. But anyway, plug aside, one of the questions that comes up is like, why isn't my cruise control working? And this little vid, I say little because I ramble like a madman, but this vid will hopefully go through the primary causes of why your cruise control don't work. What qualifies me to say that? Basically, I've done a lot of R&D work on a brake cruise control plug and play module for MT10 users, riders, owners who upgrade their master cylinder. You can see the little Brembo here behind me. When you upgrade your master cylinder, you lose the ability to use the Oem switch unless you upgrade to an R1 master cylinder. Still a great upgrade, but if you go a Cossato, Hell, Brembo, you lose the OEM functionality, and that switch, as we'll go through in a minute, has got two micro switches in it for two circuits. I make a plug and play unit, switches for a relay. You can do it yourself, find instructions on the forums, grab some clunky old automotive relays from Halfords and cut into your wiring loom and do it yourself for about 15 quid. I use OEM connectors, I use on-ROM relay, and I make it, Hell have even commented that it looks OEM when customers have fitted them to their bikes when they've upgraded to Hell master cylinders. I've had bike companies buy them from me when they're fitting a customer's master cylinder, so chances are you've got one of my units on your bike if you've paid someone, a mechanic, to do your R1 master cylinder and not bought it through me. I know of one company which actually joined the circuits together. That's a big no-no in my book. If something goes wrong with the brake circuit, with the brake relays, your cruise control can stay on. When you do that, I also believe that you lose your throttle roll-off cancel. It's a workaround, but Yamaha kept the circuit separate for a reason, and that's because it's a closed loop system, and this is what we'll talk about of why your cruise control not be working. All the switches in an unpowered state on the MT10 are all closed, so on the cruise control side. So when you do apply your brakes, you're opening that circuit. Rather than conventional switching where you push a button to close it, you're pushing the button to open the circuit. So if you've got sort of basic wiring knowledge, like electrics in your house, you switch, you turn it on, and the light comes on. For the MT10, your light will always be on. When you push the switch, it will go off. Not the greatest analogy, but in layman's terms, that's pretty much what you got here. So by putting a normally closed circuit and joining it into the brake circuit, which also functions in the same way. Ironically, you're opening the circuit to get the brake light on, switches it for a relay. It's just not safe. Chances are you could ride your entire life on it and it not be a problem. But that day it is, you got your cruise control on at 70 miles an hour on the M5. You don't want that bad boy sticking on with some plum pulls out in front of you. It's not a plug. I say I've already told you can do it yourself for about 15 quid. My unit's 45. Unless you supply me with your micro switch that Brembo give you, because the micro switch alone is 33 quid to buy from Brembo. I buy them in bulk, I get them for 15 quid, and I add that onto the price of what it costs for units. Bulk standard price about 35 quid. I make them for 45, because it's not quite 15 quid, it's 12 pound I get them for, which is darn sight cheaper than the 33 quid that Brembo charge, but I sell it on at cost and it bumps the unit up. If you buy it direct off the shelf, it's 45 quid. If you supply me with your micro switch, it's 40. But plug aside, this is what the video is about, and we'll start by going to the number one cause. I say number one, as you may well see. I'm going to increase the brightness so you can see what's going on and try and get right up under here. So this is the OEM Brembo's OEM micro switch for the clutch, and when you pull your lever in, you'll see the plunger come out, and I don't know if you can hear the clicks. So there's one there, and there's one there. I'll take one of these apart on the brake side in a minute and show you the insides. But what you've got in here are two micro switches. Some people refer to it as a two-stage switch. It's two switches, but this plunger activates both of them. But because they're staggered and there's a spring in there, one is deactivated or activated really early on. That one is this early one here. So as soon as you pull the clutch in, your cruise control cancels. This one, right at the end here, that's your start, so you can't start the bike in first gear. Now, aftermarket levers have this tab, well, they all have this tab here to actuate that switch. So sometimes what you'll see is you'll put your lever on, but because you've messed around with the adjustment, your lever in its rested position is, well, it might look like it's sat like that, but because there's no tension on the cable, it hasn't pulled the switch in, so you're just sat on the cusp of that not working. And if it's intermittent, again, this is primarily if you've just fitted new levers, it may be that it's just sat at that bite point. I don't know if you can just hear that clicking, but that's coming on and off of that tiny amount of movement. So you need to make sure it's tensioned properly, that you've only got about 2 to 5 mil adjustment free play here. So then when you pull your lever in, you're deactivating both switches, but more importantly, when you let go, it's cancelling them. That's a primary cause if you've just changed your levers or recently, because they say you might just have it on the bite point, and as that cable stretches over a couple of weeks, let's say, it might then start, it might rear its head afterwards. So check that first. Now the second cause, or primary cause, if you haven't changed your levers, is rear brake switch. Now here's a rear set OEM. The rear brake switch sits in there, and you can see, I take pride in my bike, you can see it's a nice bike, it's well looked up, so I had a lot of money spent on it. It's cleaned regularly, but all this shit behind here, no matter, unless you take these off, you can't clean that. And this switch sits in there, in that bracket, with a spring down and attached onto here. So when you push the brake lever, it comes down like so. That pulls that, and that's your brake switch there, pulling there. Now look at all the crap that's on that. This pin gets full of shite and just sticks. It's also a really crude switch, and now I'll take it apart to show you. Might have to zoom in. So here's your switch. There's a white cap on here which I've taken off, and it's just 2 copper contacts on a slidey thing. So that can sometimes need a bit of electrical cleaner, a bit of alcohol to clean the grease and shit up. And like I say, normal state, those contacts are made, but when you pull the switch down, it breaks the circuit and goes open circuit. So when it goes open circuit, ironically, that's when your brake light comes on. That's your primary cause. Adjust it within the bracket here. Adjust it with some turns on the switch there to raise it up, to increase the tension on the spring. Lube it up, clean the spring, and lube up this pin here to make sure that it throws. That's quite stiff. It's quite crude. I've already plugged the OEM. I keep saying that. I've already plugged the hydraulic brake pressure switch that I used to replace this. But that is number one cause if you haven't changed the lever of why your cruise control's not working. Now, cruise control, as I've already said, is a continuous circuit. It starts with the clutch. Well, actually starts with the cruise control button. So you turn the cruise control on. It then goes through the clutch, through Actually, it goes through the throttle roll off, the forward roll off first. Then it goes through the clutch, through the front brake, through the rear brake. And if any of those switches are open, then it won't work, and you'll get a flashing orange light. So that's the order in which the circuit comes through. But the order of faults is obviously the levers, then this, then it's front brake switch. And we'll come to that now. And I've got one which I've taken apart and I'll show the insides of. But there's not much point spending too much time at my brake lever. I've got the Brembo RCS 19 Corsa Quarter master cylinder fit. Absolute sublime bit of kit. Less pressure required for braking, better feel at the lever, stops on a sixpence, largely in part due to upgraded pads and calipers as well. But by far this is the best upgrade you can do for your front brakes aside from changing your pads. Get the ordinary RCS 19. I do a bundle deal every now and again. 270 quid for the lever, the reservoir kit, and my plug and play module that sits in here. Because as you can see, hopefully, under here, we've got a tiny little micro switch compared to this, which is the standard. So aside from an R1 master cylinder, you lose this there. You lose this switch. So I've only been drinking tea tonight and I can't talk properly. So if we come down here, so here we are to my next trick. I feel like a magician. So here's the Oem switch. Again, it's got the two micro switches, and I'll bring it up close, see if you can hear. Again, it's got that plunger, the actuator, which in turn pushes two micro switches. And this is what it looks like disassembled. Here's the housing. Let me pause it while I try. Here's the housing. Let me pause it while I try and unclip it. Done it. So, original housing. It's a spare one. I know how this works because I broke it, so I've messed around with it. The housing clips off. There's a little rubber bit that goes in here, and inside here you have two micro switches which sit like that. One and two. Yellow and white, cruise control. So the yellows are cruise control, the greens are your brake, and you can see, hopefully, that one is actuated first, your brake light shortly followed by that one. And the difference in actuation is done, say it's two stage, just done by a spring and putting a bit of distance between the micro switches. Common fault, as you can see here, is it breaks. Now yours won't be, I don't imagine, as clear cut as that. This one here, you hear it is working fine. You can hear it. But it is faulty because it doesn't take long or much for it to sit off the button and not work. But a quick tap and it comes back in. But they're so fragile, and they can be, because invariably they don't need to be. They're not exposed to anything. They're just pushed. They give a metal plunger. But this is the second primary fault, aside from levers. I keep saying that, of why your cruise control won't work, but your front brake switch. These are about £5 each to buy. However, if you buy one, I'm yet to find a company that doesn't spank you on the shipping. So shipping costs about 13 quid. I'm half tempted to buy a load and just chuck them on eBay at like sort of £6-7 each. Because I buy the micro switches for the brake modules I make. But yeah, I mean, if you're not handy with a solder, get in touch with me. I'll get one of these sorted out for you. and fix your OEM brake switch for less than half the cost of what it does to replace this here. This there is 60 odd quid for a new one. All it needs is these replacing. And if it is something at this end, terminal wise, I've got hundreds of these connectors. So get in touch if you want me to. Message me here on the YouTube, and I'll get back to you. And we'll go from there, because I can repair this for you at a fraction of the cost it will cost you to replace the unit. So that is primary cause number 3. Now I'm just going to bring it up here and just sort of look at the pretty bike for a little bit while I chat. So we've done clutch side, not known a clutch side to go down yet, but it can. It's exactly the same setup as this. So clutch side can go down just as easy as the brake side does, but it doesn't seem to be half as common, probably because it doesn't get as much use. But got clutch, got brake, done rear brake, throttle roll off. I've got a little clip, and it probably won't be that seamless because I'm going to bolt it onto the end of this, because while I had my bike in complete bits doing the valve clearances 2 weeks ago, I did a little clip of the switch in here. So on your throttle position sensor, when you twist your cable, you'll see that the throttle position potentiometer moves, and when it returns back, it sits in a rested position, but then you've got a forward motion, and that makes a switch. It's another one of these little buggers from what I can see, and as you roll forward, there's a lug that just hits the switch, which cancels the cruise control. It's hidden, and you can just about see it on the video clip. So this is just a bit of an introduction into this really poorly seamless clip that's about to be bolted on here around the off throttle or throttle cancel for the cruise control. That would be my final port call, because if it's not your button to turn cruise control on, and it's not your clutch, front brake or rear brake, then it can only be that. And if it's not that, then you're into the realms of ECU faults, which even with my engineering background is beyond me. Maybe not some, but this isn't intended for you to go digging in the electronic circuits. This is just what can I do to get my cruise control working that isn't going to cost me the earth. Once again, I feel like I'm rambling. The other clip will be bolted on, and I probably won't even bother with an outro. I'll just let that clip finish, and that will be my work here is done kind of thing. Give the video a chuck up if you do like it. It doesn't mean much, but the more likes you get, the more your video features. I'm not in it to make any money. I'm in it to try and help people out, but it's good to get a recognition for your efforts. In light of that, chaps and ladies, good night. So this is our throttle position sensor, throttle position actuator, basically where our throttle cables come in, etc. And this is going to form part of my why is my cruise control not working vid. So aside from all the other switches that I'd have already mentioned, this one here, now you can just see the blue little tip there. And then when this comes back, it rests, and then when we throttle cancel, you can hear it make contact. So just behind this bit here is a little pad that's hidden by this bit, but hopefully you can hear it clicking. So it rests there, and then that makes contact with it. That is the last switch in the circuit that I'd be checking if your cruise control wasn't working.